What's up everyone? In this video I want to talk about my cameras. I've been using Sony cameras for years now, and I want to have a real conversation about using these cameras all the time for videos. First, let's start with the Sony a7S III. It was the first camera that I purchased that came with the codec 422. It was the first to include a flip out screen, dual SD card slots, and great video in 4K 120. Next up is the Sony FX3, which is Sony's cheapest cinema camera. One of the reasons I purchased this camera was the way it looked. I love the way this camera looks. One of the funniest things about this camera is it's a Sony a7S III with a different camera body. The FX3 is a more video-focused camera with a few features the a7S III doesn't have. The last camera is the Sony a7 IV, which I believe to be the best bang for your buck. This camera is the cheapest out the three. It came with the feature the other two cameras took years to get: focus breathing compensation. If you have prime lenses, this feature is the best. Ever since I purchased the FX3, it has become my main camera. I have multiple cameras for multiple shooting angles. If I do an unboxing video, I can have an overhead shot and an A-roll shot. If I have a multiple cam podcast, I can do that. It gives me many options. I love my FX3, but I should have stuck with the a7S III and the a7 IV. I didn't need the FX3. It was a want. My experience with these cameras have been very similar as far as usage. When I started using prime lenses, I had just purchased the a7 IV with the focus breathing compensation. The a7 IV was the main camera for this reason. Just recently, the other features came to the other two cameras. There is a feature that the FX3 doesn't have, and that's closed shutter to prevent dust. Don't know why it doesn't. It has it on the a7 III and a7 IV, not the FX3. I have three prime lenses. I got the 35mm and 20mm, I'm sorry. And I have the 50mm as far as prime lenses, right? I mostly use the 35mm because I love that look it gives me. It's a little cropped up, especially with the focus breathing. It's cropped up a little, right? And it just focuses on me. You know, the 20mm will be a wider angle as far as if you want more of the background in your shot or whatever's in your room. So that's what that's good for. Now 50mm is real cropped up, real close up when it comes to video, right? So I've been using those three prime lenses, but I mostly use the 35mm, and I love that lens. Prefer that more than anything. There is one more thing I would like to talk about that I've noticed between all three of my cameras, and that is with the a7 IV, there's a USB feature. USB-C to the camera, to the computer. Use it as a webcam. a7 III and the FX3 doesn't have that at this moment. Now maybe a future update that will allow me to do that, but at this moment it does not. Now, if you're asking me the question, which one out of the three would I prefer? And I'm going to say it, and I'm sticking with this. It's the a7 IV. For one, it's the cheapest out of the three. Two, it has, focus. It came with focus breathing compensation, so you're going to get that feature. And if you want to use a camera that has interchangeable lenses as a webcam, you could do that with no problem. So that's why I recommend that one, because you can't go wrong with that one. So for me, I will go with the a7 IV. a7 III is great. FX3 is great. But if you're trying to get into YouTube and you want a camera that's kind of high-end but reasonable price and has some great features to it, a7 IV. Can't go wrong. I've been using these cameras for years, and I always come back to the a7 IV. I guess because when it comes to features, you don't realize some of the things that you appreciate when they come with it. And your other camera didn't have it for a while, so you had to make do with some of the things that camera could do that this camera couldn't. But man, I overthink a lot of things, and when it came to purchasing cameras, I just wanted the latest and the greatest. And I kind of overspent, I like to say. A lot of the things that I wanted, I purchased, and then once I got the other one of the same thing or whatever, I used it less and less. So for me, if I had to do it all over and the A7 IV is available between the two cameras, I know now, A7 IV, stick with that camera. Now, if I want to get into like other filmmaking techniques as far as videography and things like that, as far as like making commercials, content, as far as like short films, things like that, A7 III, FX3 for, you know, the rolling shutter. It's better on those two cameras than it is on the A7 IV. So those things you gotta weigh out depending on what you're trying to do as far as using your camera. At the end of the day, depending on what you're trying to do with a camera determines which way you should lead. Simple as that. But having used Sony cameras for years now, don't watch camera reviews. Ain't nothing wrong with it. They just have you spending money you don't really be spending because you think, if I have this, I can do that. Where you could do the same thing with the camera, well, depending on the camera you got, with the camera you have, depending on, like, if you're doing this, you don't need a real high-end camera, but if you want certain features that, you know, certain cameras have, I get it. But to do this, like a face shot, A7 IV, or what's the other cameras, like the A6000, like the 35mm cameras, you know, with the crop lens, the crop sensor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can make you gotta make it work. Until you start making some money where you can invest in other things, make it work for you. But that's my video as far as my cameras and why I like this camera over that camera in this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything, none of that. If you want to see more content, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you like it. See you in the next video.